Hey, good afternoon. Today is Sunday, June the 30th, 2024. The time now is 3:40 p.m. So, if Joe Biden was a regular grandpa, if he was an ordinary grandpa and not a president, I do believe that his children and grandchildren would have retired him long ago and placed him into an elderly care, which, that being the case, means that there is a high possibility that his caretaker would be an African woman. And I don't mean this to disrespect African women or to even disrespect Joe Biden. What I'm trying to say here is that in the United States, Africans, and especially African women, makes up a very significant number in terms of the group, the populations that provide care services for the elderly, the sick, the disabled. So there are lots of African nurses, doctors, and caretaker. Whether you are talking about the group homes, whether you're talking about the sick homes or elderly care, African women makes up a very significant proportion in terms of those who provide care services for the elderly. Now, Joe Biden is in a position and at a time in his age where honestly the man is having a difficulty functioning. And that was the case even recently in Europe during the G7 summit, where during one of the days of the conference, there was an activity where a couple of guys were flying parachutes, okay? And they were basically displaying the flags of the various G7 countries, the seven big members of G7. And at one point, Joe Biden began to wander off away from the group of the other six members of the G7 group, to the point where the Prime Minister of Italy basically went after him and tried to pull him back to the group. And at that moment, even the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak, basically went to Joe Biden right, and as a means to guide him, basically, I won't say to corner him, but to surround him and prevent him from wandering away. Now, what it reminds me of like an elderly parent or an elderly grandparent who, because of their current state of mind, their current physical or mental deficiency, or because of their health conditions, in addition to the fact that they had always been chaotic, okay, whether in previous lives or because of their current health condition, that the children often go to the extreme of trying to prevent the elderly parent from doing something which in that case could lead to the elderly parent humiliating him or herself or humiliating the family. Now, on the other hand, Donald Trump, had America and American society not been as polarizing as it is currently, or as it has been, Donald Trump would never have won the election in 2016. He would have never become president of the United States, and he would never be in the current position that he is in to contest the upcoming election. Donald Trump lies and he bullies his way into getting what he wants. And we all know, if you are those who focus on the truth and also focus on what is happening, okay, in terms of geopolitics, you know that a lot of the things that Donald Trump talks about, it's not going to come into fruition. He's just talking. You know that this guy, he is good at conning the people, okay? But because of the polarization in American society, in American politics, there are those who believe in what he is saying, in what he wants to do, and they love it. They love him dearly. Because of the polarization in American society, and because of the fact that there are many Americans who view other Americans as outsiders, as the other, as those who do not belong, or as those who should not be here, as those who deserve to be beaten, who deserve to be undermined, and who deserve to be belittled or limited in various ways. They basically listen and take in the echoes of the sentiment that comes out of Donald Trump. They love Donald Trump dearly because he basically speaks to their own biases. Now, where am I going with this? I know that is the question that you are asking. And if you are suggesting that I am about to talk about the previous presidential debate, okay, the US presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, then you're absolutely correct. Okay? The debate was a disaster. Not only that Joe Biden looked very bad in terms of his physical and mental and emotional state, Donald Trump, on the other hand, came out looking to be the best candidate. He looked like the best candidate. And that is the most scary thing. And I do believe that many Americans needs to pay attention. They should be very concerned. Because the guy who they've been very cautious about or very fearful about, that is, if you're a Democrat or people in the left, Donald Trump, he appears to be the better candidate. And not so much because of what he said, because we all know many of the things that he said was a bunch of lies and things that nobody could substantiate. Okay? That was the classic Donald Trump. But because of the fact that he was able to look much more sane than Joe Biden, in terms of substance, Donald Trump was horrible. And to a greater extent, he was scary. He was very unprofessional and very traumatizing. Okay? But in terms of his appearance and the way he maintained composure, in contrast to what we know Donald Trump to be and to do, he basically was the better candidate. So, to be honest, when watching the debate and after watching the debate, when I was able to sit down and try to take in, okay, try as much as I could to comprehend what I had just experienced, I was in deep shock and in deep disbelief. I was concerned, and I hope that every American is concerned. Not only that Biden was horrible and Trump ended up appearing to be the better of the two. The fact that the best or the top two candidate for the presidency of the United States are two old people. One of them who is 86-year-old and who cannot function properly, and the other who is 78 years old, who, and by the way, we have to also acknowledge the fact that Trump is also old. And Trump could as well be in the same state of mind in terms of his physical, mental, and emotional state, and also in terms of his health, similar to what Joe Biden is experiencing. So as much as many may be happy, okay, as Republicans and those who are in the right, that Biden doesn't function, which means that Trump could win this election, there's a possibility that Trump could end up like that. And knowing what we know of Trump, who doesn't shut his mouth, who bullies people, who just say whatever comes out of his mouth, if Trump's physical health becomes the same as Joe Biden, it is going to be chaotic and it's going to be traumatic. It is going to be bad for the United States. Okay? But I was concerned, I am concerned, and I hope that every American is concerned. The fact that the top two candidates for the office of the presidency are two old people. Okay? Two old people. Two old people who cannot function or who are just outright crazy. Okay? It is concerning. It is scary. Now, I am going to talk about a couple of pointers that I observed as I watched the debate. Okay? But let me first thank you for staying with me. Okay, you've stayed with me for over 10 minutes now, I believe. So once again, thank you very much for watching The Echoing Voice. Thank you very much for being part of the community, okay? A member of the community, The Echoing Voice, okay? Now, in terms of this program, the title for the program is TAHIUSSADP, okay? Episode 1, A Debate of Two Disasters. Basically, TAHIUSSADP stands for Trends and Headlines in U.S. Society and Domestic Politics. And this is Series 1, Episode 1. Okay? Trends and Headlines in U.S. Society and Domestic Politics. TAHIUSSADP. And that is actually the playlist. Okay? And this is Episode 1 for this series. Now, I am very concerned because I do believe both Donald Trump and Joe Biden are a disaster for the United States. Now, Joe Biden doesn't function well. He is old and he is going through his mental and emotional, physical, and psychological state. Okay, his health is taking the best of him. However, Joe Biden, basically, if his health wasn't a problem, he sound a lot more professional than Donald Trump. In fact, Joe Biden was very calm during the debate to the point where I asked myself whether it was either probably because of his health or because he just wanted to be professional. Trump was also professional to an extent, okay, compared to what we know him to be and to do. But he also trolled Joe Biden a lot in the debate. Now, either way, I do believe both candidates are disaster. As much as we are seeing Joe Biden in real times, who and what he is in terms of his health, what Donald Trump had been doing and will continue to do is going to sum up, it's going to add up, and it's going to blow up in our face one of these days. I know in the US, it is very sad that presidents often do not get credit for what they start, okay? And those who basically inherit disaster are the ones who often get blamed for the disaster. So a lot of the things that Donald Trump had done and will continue to do will blow up in the face of the next president. But I made a prediction in the past few years that Barack Obama could be the last serious president of the United States. And what I mean is that every American president, okay, succeeding American president, will be reactionary president or reactionary presidency. That means either the people are voting them as a reaction, or these presidents will carry out or conduct reactionary activities, which will basically make the situation of the United States worsen. Okay? And we see that, or we saw that with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a reaction. Many people were angry that Barack Obama, a black man, became a president of the United States. Okay? And many were angry because of George Bush prior to Barack Obama. And I do believe these reactions will continue to spiral over and over for the next years and decades to come. But perhaps Barack Obama could be the last serious president of the United States. That is, if the good nature of American society doesn't rise up and make changes. And if that happens, perhaps we could be seeing the end of old presidents in America and even in the world. Because many things that happen in America tends to impact the world as well. In many places around the world, we have old people who are president, many who are sleeping on the job, many who are fainting, okay? And we see with Donald Trump and Joe Biden in terms of their old age. Perhaps the good nature of American society may rise in the near or far future and say enough is enough. We are going to instill soundness in the American political system or political tradition or in the American presidency. In terms of the debate, I basically was able to observe, or I took notice that about 12 topics were discussed. And those 12 topics are economy or economics, abortion, immigration and border security, the war in Ukraine or Russia's invasion, the Middle East or West Asia, however you want to say it, uh, democracy in terms of January 6th, and black unemployment, climate crisis, child care, the opioid crisis, voter concern in terms of the age and the ability of the two candidates, and also their personal beefs. Now, their personal beefs were not an included topic of discussion, but are included for this talk or this video or program, if you will, however you want to say it. Because both men went about just insulting one another, okay, to the point where the conversation spilled into the whole idea of Donald Trump having sex with a porn star. That I do believe is the lowest, or if not, it is one of the lowest the United States has fallen, or the American political system has fallen. First of all, the whole presidency itself and the race to the presidency has become a shit show. Okay, it has become nothing more than a pageant. Okay, a pageant of lack of substance. Okay, or of no substance. Okay. So the first topic that was presented or that was discussed was economy. Okay, the economy or economics, and that is quite interesting. Okay, I watched Trump basically throwing jabs at Joe Biden, and both men going at it. Okay, at each other. Now, for Donald Trump claimed that he left Joe Biden with a stable, a good economy, and Joe Biden basically started spending all over the place, okay, and ruined the economy. First of all, in terms of the economy, Obama left Donald Trump a much stable, much better economy, okay? And now, in terms of Trump, by the end of Trump's presidency, you have the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown, okay? Which Joe Biden basically inherited and he expanded. So Joe Biden inherited a very unstable and very shaky economy because of the pandemic, okay? So in that case, we have to be very honest and fair. But also, in terms of the spending, because another thing that Donald Trump claimed is that Joe Biden is spending. And he actually mentioned the war in Ukraine in terms of economics or the economy. Donald Trump stated that Joe Biden is spending all over the place and keep giving money, okay? Just keep giving money. And that he had given almost 200 billion or so to Ukraine. And Donald Trump even declared the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, to be the greatest salesman ever, okay? That he is a great salesman. But the spending on Ukraine, okay, and Joe Biden championing of Ukraine and taking the war to Russia, it's not a Joe Biden thing. It is an American thing. It is an American policy. And we are going to see the same thing with China. The United States doesn't want a peer. The United States doesn't want a challenge. And Russia right now is posing a strong military challenge, which if it succeeds, it's going to limit the United States in various ways, and it's going to tint the United States' reputation. Okay? The United States don't want that. So whether Donald Trump or anybody in office would have taken the war to Russia, okay, or support Ukraine, because the destruction or the limitation, the subjugation of Russia, or even China, if you will, is an American policy. It's not a Joe Biden policy. And also is the support for Israel. The support for or the support of Israel is a United States policy. It's not a Joe Biden policy. Any American president would have support Israel strongly and continue to fund the war in Gaza or Israel's activities or so on. So I feel like Donald Trump, to an extent, he knows how to talk, but he is not being honest. One thing that Donald Trump stated that basically rubs me wrong, and I said to myself, like, not only it is interesting, but it is going to be very dangerous for the United States. He mentioned raising tariff, okay, on imported goods to 10%, and that the rest of the world is going to like it. And he basically motioned that he gave off the vibe that he wants to go again after China. Okay, he wants to exacerbate the trade war with China. I don't know if that is going to be possible, but if he does it, if Donald Trump wins the presidency and he reignites the trade war with China, it is going to be catastrophic for the United States, because China is not what it used to be 20 years ago. Domestically, economically, and militarily, or culturally, China is much stronger than 20 years ago. And China has been reorienting its economy for domestic consumption. So the United States going after China, okay, in terms of economics and trade war, is going to backfire. Now, perhaps in terms of the situation with Taiwan, Donald Trump might be able to get that war started if he wins the presidency, because the neocons, now realizing that they may not be able to defeat Russia, might be seeing China as the weaker of the two. Okay, they might want to go after China because to them, China doesn't have a military record of just defeating everybody, or of just being difficult to take over and control, such as what Russia had done, whether to Napoleon or to Nazi Germany. Okay, China, to the neocons, doesn't have that records. So they might want to be able to view China as the weaker link, okay, or the weakest link. But that as well is going to backfire in terms of the diplomatic arena, the military arena, the trade, economics arena, and finance arena as well. Abortion. They both stood their ground, okay? Joe Biden basically want women to basically have the choice, and Trump seems to echo the same sentiment or the position of the Christian right or the far right. However, Trump basically did it very smartly. He did not go to the extreme. But one thing I found to be very interesting is that Trump basically stated that Joe Biden wanted to rip the baby out of the woman's womb or so on. Like, he threw a lot of shots at Joe Biden, and to an extent where every time Joe Biden speak, especially when Joe Biden was having difficulty speaking, Trump kept making faces, okay? His posture was very interesting and funny, but he did it very kind of less extreme compared to what we know Trump to be. Like, had it been 6-7 years ago, it would have been a disaster, okay? He would have been much more chaotic. Whether he has been practicing or because of what he has been going through in terms of his previous case, okay, or the trial, that he wants to or wanted to present a very respectful image of himself, or he was just practicing very strongly and hardly for this debate, I don't know. But Trump came off quite proper compared to what and who he usually is. Immigration. Biden did stated that Trump basically was caging babies, okay, during the Trump administration, where kids were taken away from their families and placed in cage or in an isolated area or so on. But Trump basically stated that Joe Biden is just opening the border, and he echoed the whole idea of immigrants being in the United States, not working in the in five-star hotel and all that sort of things. And he called everybody, all immigrants, terrorists. He said he's a bunch of terrorists, rapists, and people of mental and psychological issue coming to the United States. That is the classic Trump. And it is also the classic behavior or belief or echoing sentiment that comes out of the right, the far right. Okay? We are dealing with people who view the rest of the world and the rest of humanity, the non-white humanity, to be a bunch of savages. So that is the classic Trump. The war in Ukraine. Not only that Donald Trump stated that Zelensky is the great salesman, but he stated that Putin respects him and the rest of the world respect him and doesn't respect Joe Biden, and that Vladimir Putin wouldn't have dared invade Ukraine had he been in power. No. Mm-mm. Had what been happening, okay, in that part of the world that basically triggered the Russian president or the Russians to invade Ukraine. Had it occurred under Trump, the Russians would have invaded Ukraine. I think it is the matter of domestic and national security. So Trump wasn't going to be able to sway Vladimir Putin, especially since the destruction of Putin and Russia is also a neoconservative thing. So in terms of the Middle East, the situation in Gaza, or the situation between Israel and the Palestinians, both Trump and Biden basically stress that they are the better supporter of Israel, or the stronger supporter of Israel. As I said earlier, the support for or the support of Israel is an American policy. It's a policy of the American government. Okay? It doesn't matter who is in power. They will support Israel strongly. Okay? But they both stress that they are the supporters of Israel. Now, in terms of the greater Middle East, Donald Trump basically stressed the whole idea of the withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan, and basically trolled Biden on that, okay? And he talked about how it is a disaster and all that, and even used words and phrases such as stupid and so on at Biden. Trump, as much as he was less extreme than he usually is in terms of his activities, his behaviors or behavior during debates, he was also aggressive at Biden, okay, in terms of how he was going at Biden. But in terms of the withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan, honestly, I do believe it was destined to happen. The United States was in Afghanistan much longer than it was supposed to be there. It should have left a long time, okay? What happened in Afghanistan could have happened under any president, okay? Any president could have inherited that situation. However, Joe Biden didn't make matters right. The fact that he then went after Russia or did not prevent the war in Ukraine. Okay, and I do believe, again, it is an American policy. They very much thought that they were going to be able to defeat Russia. And this is why they went on the sanction spree. By bombarding Russia with sanctions, they hope to basically attack the Russian economic system to the point, and financial system to the point where the people get pissed off. They revolted, the military, the security apparatus get pissed off. They revolted against Putin and he's ousted. He's defeated and the United States can come and infiltrate in the Russian system. It did not happen. And Russia is still standing. But in terms of security itself, Donald Trump claims that the police in America and the military, okay, the servicemen and women, love him dearly, and that they love him more than they love Joe Biden. It was the classic Trump, okay? And I do believe it was laughable. It was laughable. The whole thing was laughable. Yes. Now, I'm going to go back to the immigration issue, but let me proceed. They talked about democracy, or the attack on the Congress building, Capitol Hill, on the 6th of January. What is it, 2021 or so. And Trump did not actually give a direct answer. Okay? he seems to reserve the whole idea that if he doesn't believe the election was fair, he should not concede. So it is the same Trump, and I do believe that works for his supporters. Let me go back to something that I missed. Biden did stress that he's a strong supporter of Israel, as much as Trump did the same. For Trump, he is safe. The Republicans and the Christian right is very much a strong advocate or supporter of Israel. So Trump is safe in terms of his right-wing supporter. But Biden, I think, also put himself in a tricky situation with Democratic voters, especially the young, the youth, given what is happening in Gaza. So I think as much as being strong supporter of Israel is an American thing, in terms of voters, I do believe that it placed Biden in a very tricky situation with Democratic voters. For black unemployment, I think it was a shit show between both men. Trump stating that he is the strongest supporter of black economic improvement, and Biden basically saying that there is always room for improvement. But in terms of Trump, I cannot name a single project that he has implemented or that he implemented to help black people succeed in America. I think it was just a nonsense. Now, the whole idea of black current state in the United States, it is black people are political football in America, where they are kicked here and pushed here and thrown here based on how politicians see fit to be able to make themselves and their position seem strong. But when they are in power, they do nothing. Okay, they make no radical move to help black or brown people. So I was basically disgusted in this part of the debate, because I know as much as the entire debate was childish and nonsensical, I basically was turned off when it pertains to the whole idea of black economic betterment, because I know both guys were lying. They talked about climate change, and Trump is the same Trump. He doesn't believe in climate change, and he doesn't care. But then one thing I would dare ask is, in terms of the rest of the world, okay, the other countries, what is your priority? Because you know Donald Trump don't give a damn. Are you going to move on with what you think is right based on how it affects your people in your country, or are you going to sit there and wait for American politicians to get tired of the political nonsense that they engage in? Childcare. It's nonsense. If you really give a damn about childcare, okay? If Americans care about childcare, let's do it from the federal level. One thing I'll tell you is that it is very difficult for people to raise kids in America, okay? The money you could spend on raising a child from the day of birth to his or her 18-year-old birthday, you will spend a whole bunch of money, okay? There are people who basically going nuts, going crazy because of the expense of raising children in America. One thing that many people in America, especially the Christian rights, okay, or conservative, always talk about is the whole idea of American white population decline, which is nonsense. It is dog whistle. The population is stable in terms of the white population because a lot of people are not having kids. And one of the main reasons that people are not having kids as much as they used to is the financial issue. And one of them being the cost of raising children in America. The opioid crisis. Now, America is in a very dangerous point as of now. Like, I remember in the early 2000s when white people used to just bash at black people for smoking marijuana, weed, and they make it look like black people were the druggies of the world. And even if you reflect back in the 80s, during the crack epidemic. There are many blacks, okay, scholars or professionals who will tell you that the U.S. government did nothing to help the black population. But now, in the early thousands, there were cases where white people were acting like they don't engage in that, but they were. But the opioid crisis in America is very serious. There are people all over American cities stumbling, and it is the case strongly in the Northeast. Okay? White people, black people, Hispanic, everybody, and white people, even those all American guys are stumbling, overdosed, and they are dying. There are people who are shooting needle in themselves, okay? Broad daylights, okay? Taking drug like it is the normal things that we do in society, okay? And politicians are not trying to help these people. They are making it look like these people are the problem, okay? But there are lots of things that constitute the current situation that is the opioid crisis in the United States. So in terms of voters' concern, okay, about the age and the ability of the candidates, it is very interesting that it was playful. First of all, the whole debate was childish. And one thing that basically gave it off for me, okay, gave off the childishness is when the moderators were talking, they immediately stressed the whole idea of coin toss. Like the fact that they basically gamified the debate was just childish. It shows lack of seriousness, or it demonstrates lack of seriousness. It demonstrates lack of professionalism. Okay, it takes away or took away the dignity of the debate, of what it should be about. Okay, the purpose of the debate and so on. But in terms of voters' concern, both men are very old. Okay, I remember even yesterday I was looking at some of the comments that viewers were making on YouTube. It is very interesting that even Democratic voters are feeling sorry for Joe Biden, okay, for the position that they place him in. And honestly, I do believe Joe Biden should have, okay, long time ago, stepped down. But now, Democrats are scrambling, okay? It is said that even Barack Obama is trying to intervene to try to get Joe Biden to step down. Now, I don't know whether it is too late, but it is interesting. But voters are basically expressing their warm feeling for Joe Biden, okay, for being in the position that he is in, and basically hailing Trump. And that basically what is making it scary as well. The fact that people who a couple of years ago would have been very traumatizing of Trump are now hailing him, are now bashing Biden because Trump appeared to be the best candidate and the most stable candidate of the two. It is very scary because I do believe Trump is not going to make the lives of Americans and people in America better. Okay? But that idea of the age, I do believe the moderators did a very bad job, terrible job. They should have not even posed that question or posed it in a different way. But the conversation, okay, starting with Trump and then Biden, went about being playing golf. Trump talking about how fit he is, and he does play golf, and Biden also challenging him. It's nonsense. And honestly, I do believe American adversaries out there, American oppositions out there, countries that are in strong oppositions to the United States are laughing. Okay, we have a country that has often propagated the notion of strength and power. Okay? And the fact that, oh, Russia and Putin are pariah states and isolated people. I think, given even what happened last week with Vladimir Putin's trip to Asia, okay, Vietnam and North Korea, I think Putin appeared much powerful than Donald Trump and Joe Biden did, even though Trump appeared to be the most stable candidate of the two, even though he said a bunch of nonsense that cannot be validated And he was the same classical Trump to an extent. But the fact that people are hailing Donald Trump is it's interesting. But now, in terms of the personal aspect of it, both guys were personal towards one another, man. They went as far as calling each other's criminals. Joe Biden invoking Trump's criminal activities, his trial, and the fact that Trump basically had sex with a porn star. Donald Trump actually began to do this before Joe Biden, even calling Joe Biden out, calling Joe Biden's son, calling Joe Biden criminal, and so on. I think it was bad. I think sanity needs to be instilled within the American political system because American politicians are misbehaving, okay? They are misbehaving badly, and it is not good for the United States in the long run. Yes, they were too personal. But I am going to end by doing two things. One is I want to go back to the whole idea of immigration because Trump echoed the sentiment of immigrants coming in here. They are criminal, committing crimes, taking American jobs, and so on. Okay? Things that cannot be substantiated. But I do have an article from Northwestern University that I want to read that basically demonstrate contradiction to Trump's beliefs about immigration or immigrant. And then I will read the description for this program, which can also serve as a conclusion and also does pose multiple questions. For the article, okay, which is a Northwestern University article, the title is Immigrants Are Significantly Less Likely to Commit Crimes Than the US Born. Once again, the title of this article, which is on the Northwestern University website. The title is Immigrants Are Significantly Less Likely to Commit Crimes Than US Born. Study finds over a 150-year period, immigrants have never been incarcerated at a greater rate than those born in the United States. The article dated March 12, 2024, this year, and the author is Stephanie Kolke. I'm going to read. Some Americans believe that undocumented immigrants are a criminal threat to society. Former President Donald J. Trump has leveraged this assumption to inflame the rhetoric around immigration from the U.S.-Mexico border. A study co-led by Northwestern University economist Elisa Jacome provides the first historical comparison of incarceration rates of immigrants to U.S.-born citizens. Using incarceration rate as a proxy for crime, a team of economists analyzed 150 years of U.S. Census data and found immigrants were consistently less likely to be incarcerated than people born in the U.S. So being less likely to be incarcerated is also a way to say that they are not committing crime at the same rate as the average regular born Americans. I'm going to continue. They found beginning in 1960, the incarceration gap widened such that immigrants today are 60% less likely to be incarcerated than US born. Our study shows that since 1870, it has never been the case that immigrants as a group have been more incarcerated than US born, Jacome said. Jacome is an assistant professor of economics and a faculty fellow with the Institute of Policy Research at Northwestern. A multi-university team of economists had previously studied the upward mobility of immigrants and found that children of low-income immigrants tended to be more upwardly mobile than US-born children of low-income families. And I think that is also the result of the cultural conditions, okay, the cultural factors. Many Americans live in this individualistic mindset, or with this individualistic mindset. And people from around the world live in the mindset of, I am doing it for all of us. It is about all of us. So you want to succeed because you don't want to embarrass your mom or your dad. You don't want to basically make them shame. In the US, it's not that. I don't care if I don't want to do this or that. It's my choice. It's my will. Oh well. I'm going to continue. Prompted by frequent questions about the impact of immigration on local crime rates, the researchers used data from the US Census to find out whether immigrants were more likely to commit crimes than US-born. Starting with the 1870 US Census, the first to include the full population, including those formerly enslaved, through the most recent in 2020, which collects data nationwide, including from correctional facilities. The researchers measure the gap between immigrant and US-born level of incarceration. Over that 150-year period, they found that immigrant incarceration rate was only slightly lower than the US-born men. However, in the more recent time period, immigrants are 60% less likely to be incarcerated than US-born citizens, and 30% less likely relative to US-born white. To explain what happened beginning in 1960, Jacome and co-authors point to globalization and skill-based technological changes as coinciding with the gap. A surprising finding was the extent to which immigrants with lower levels of education today are significantly less likely to commit crimes than their US-born counterparts, Jacome said. This may indicate immigrants are more resistant to economic shocks that have affected less educated men in recent decades. Perhaps, but I also do believe there is a trauma in the population of immigrants and of people all over the world in the global south. There's a trauma and taboo when it comes to doing something that lands you in a hot water with society or with the police, or to go to jail. And in this case, when you come from different places around the world to the United States, any major offense, not only you go to jail, but it is a humiliation in your community. And I think that is a trauma, that is a fear in many people around the world, from around the world who are in the United States, okay, to get into trouble. I'm going to continue. The researchers say policymakers should consider a variety of factors in addressing immigration issues. The impact of immigration on the economy is a multifaceted topic, and crime is just one of the factors, Jacome said. To get a historical picture, policymakers should also account for research, invention, and services that are being provided because of immigrants. That's a great point. To the extent you want to make a cost-benefit statement about immigration, you must also look at benefit lost if immigration was reduced. The study co-authors by Ron Abramitsky, professor of economics at Stanford University, Leah Boston, professor of economics at Princeton University, Santiago Perez, associate professor of economics at the University of California at Davis, and Juan David Torres, doctoral student in economics at Stanford. Law-abiding immigrants, the incarceration gap between immigrants and US-born, 1850-2020, was released as a working paper by the National Bureau of Economic research in July 2023 and will be published in the American Economic Review Insights at a later date. So that's it. Immigrants are not just out there, okay, just killing everything, just killing everyone, just committing crimes. So in this case, Donald Trump was wrong, and many anti-immigrant people out there are wrong. Immigrants are not out there committing crimes, okay? So now I am going to read the description for this program. And as I've said earlier, it serves as the summary or the conclusion for the program. And it also does have questions and comments that I do find useful. And I hope you can help me answer these questions or reply or respond to these comments and also join the conversation. So I'm going to continue. Now, for this video, okay, it is found in the playlist known as Trends and Headlines in U.S. Society and Domestic Politics. TAHIUSSADP, Series 1. Once again, it is Trends and Headlines in U.S. Society and Domestic Politics. TAHIUSSADP, Series 1. Now, the title for this video or program or talk is TAHIUSSADP Episode 1. A Debate of Two Disasters. I'm going to repeat. The title for this video or talk or program is TAHIUSSADP Episode 1. A Debate of Two Disasters. I'm going to read. Question: which one of these guys will best ruin the United States? Why and how? I'm going to repeat. Which one of these guys will best ruin the United States? Why and how? Topics of discussion: economy or economics, abortion, immigration and border security, war in Ukraine or Russian invasion, the Middle East or West Asia, democracy or January 6, black unemployment, climate crisis, childcare, opioid crisis, voters' concern, or the age and ability of presidents, and personal beefs / insult. I'm going to continue. There used to be times when powerful white men talked and the world listened attentively. However, I would dare speculate that given all that have transpired over the past few years and 2 decades and the changes that much of the world has experienced, it seems that today, when these white men talk, the world is not listening attentively, but listening only for entertainment, as childishness and mediocrity are often demonstrated in their talks. This was the reality of the Biden-Trump presidential debate, but it was the same old show. The debate. The debate demonstrates flaws in the American political system. It proves the symbolic pageantry that the American presidency and the race to the office of the presidency has become. It is a popularity contest of ridiculous proportion, an outlandish, overrated, romanticized nonsense. It is a race of people who make promises but do nothing after assuming the office. I have learned over the years that becoming an American president is much more about looks than the brain or substance, being loud and pretending to be what one is not, and promoting fake humility. This is why an American presidential candidate can look more or less presidential. Donald Trump looked presidential in that case, and Joe Biden looked like he should be sleeping or should have been sleeping. The Biden-Trump debate exposed something about American leadership and the American presidency and could have an international implication. There should be an age requirement and truth and reconciliation. When the best candidates in the US are old men, one cannot function while the other is beyond insolent, then we have a serious problem. The candidates were too personal in their responses to one another. The moderators seemed to cut Biden off too many times, and it was as if they had an agenda. It was strange that Trump always swayed in his answer, yet had more time remaining on the clock. Biden only had extra time once. And honestly, I do feel as if the moderators did a terrible job. I feel as if they cut Biden too much. They cut him off too much. I'm going to continue. The candidates, Joe Biden. If Joe Biden had been an ordinary grandpa or an elderly man, I believe his children would have retired him and placed him in an elderly care home, where an African lady would probably be his caretaker. Joe Biden was unable to say anything during the debate. He looked like the old Peter Wayland in 2093. However, Donald Trump could end up like that if he wins the election. Statement, Joe Biden. Joe Biden stated, "I am the only president who does not have any American troops dying around the world." That is probably a good point. However, I am unsure of whether it can be substantiated. I'm going to continue. Joe Biden mentioned that during Trump's presidency, babies were separated from families and placed in cages. However, such a statement in reality probably works in Trump's favor because many of his supporters would like that. Trump. If American society was not so polarizing and people were smart enough not to believe in lies and not consumed by the enthusiasm of sectionalism, Donald Trump would not have become president. He would not win the upcoming election as well. His position on various topics were full of dog whistles, particularly regarding abortion and immigration. He presented an argument that seemed false, unverifiable, and outright nonsensical. However, Trump was much sharper during the debate than Biden. To a greater extent, he was the same Trump in his ability and willingness to present whatever argument he wanted, but he was much more civil, less chaotic, and uninterrupted. Statement, Trump. Trump stated that the economy was good under him, and Biden only created jobs for illegal immigrants. Trump said his government would impose 10% tariff on imported goods, which would not increase the cost of goods and services, according to him. Trump declared Biden a baby killer who wants to rip babies out of their mother's womb. Trump declared Biden a Palestinian who even the Palestinians dislike because he is a bad Palestinian. That was sick. It was interesting, funny, but horrible. Trump basically called Joe Biden a Palestinian, but then stated that even the Palestinians dislike Joe Biden because Joe Biden is a bad Palestinian. That was a funny but sad and just foolish statement. Trump stated that the people of the world are a bunch of terrorists. Basically, everybody coming to America are a bunch of terrorists. Trump did not directly answer the question that he would deport every undocumented immigrant in the United States. However, doing so would badly impact the United States. I'm going to continue. Dog whistle. Trump. Trump stated that the United States is now civilized. But does that mean that the United States has finally replaced the non-white world, which to Trump and many of his supporters are not civilized? Trump seemed to get into Biden's scheme. He appears to taunt Biden. Trump declared the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, the greatest salesman ever. Questions or comments? Number one, the coin tossing was a display of immaturity. It introduced a game-like element to the debate, making it seem unprofessional and trivial. This debate, not the frivolous video game, determines a nation's course and people's welfare. Number two, both Biden and Trump looked horrible in their posture, gesture, mannerism, and even in their position on the matters presented in the debate. We could be witnessing the end of the days of old presidents, not just in the United States, but worldwide. Number three, at this point, it is impossible to think that Joe Biden will win the election. Trump's voters will undoubtedly not vote for Biden, and his looks could disappoint his voters. And I'm talking about Biden. The way Biden looked during the debate, I am sure that many of the Democratic voters are pissed. They are disappointed. Number four, as much as the US's withdrawal from Afghanistan was an embarrassment, to echo Trump, it was destined to happen because the US should have left the country a long time before that. Also, any American president could have experienced the bad withdrawal that occurred under Biden. Number five, the addition of American debt or the addition of money to the American debt is an all-American thing. Every American president contributes to the debt, especially because they want to go to war or engage in nonsense, okay? Things that are just unnecessary rather than investing in the people. Number six, Biden took over the presidency when COVID-19 rapidly expanded and became a pandemic. Number seven, Trump seems to be mocking Biden. However, he was a lot more civil in doing so. Number eight, does Donald Trump and Joe Biden make America strong in any way? If so, how and why? Are the people of the non-white world terrorists? He basically said that all immigrants coming to the United States, especially those coming from the border, the US-Mexico border, are a bunch of terrorists. Number 10, Trump declared Biden's policy as ridiculous, insane, and stupid. This is a blasphemy. One American president is viciously attacking another American president. There is a crack in the American system. Trump has exposed sentiments that American leaders would rather keep hidden. This could benefit America's adversaries. Number 11, Biden was much calmer during the debate. However, TEV is unsure of whether this was because of his age or health or because he was just being civil. Number 12, Trump claimed that service members and the police liked him more. As for the police, that could be true. And this is because of what's happening in American society with police brutality. And the radicalism of Trump actually does protect the criticism that police or the police institutions in the country are experiencing. Number 13, TEV noticed that the outcome of this presidential debate presented a significant danger. Trump appeared likable and more sound and appealing than Joe Biden. Number 14, Democrats are currently scrambling to undo the damage from the debate and potentially replace Biden. There are talks that even former President Barack Obama is supposed to be asking Joe Biden to step down. Should that happen? Should they be doing this? And is it too late? So friends, these are the questions. And I know it is a very long video, but I do apologize. Once again, the debate was a very long debate. It was more than an hour long, watching the debate. And it was a loaded debate, okay, full of lots of nonsense. Whether we are talking about Donald Trump lying, throwing stones, calling people's name, insulting Biden, or Biden doing the same. In fact, the candidates went as far as calling each other's name. Donald Trump called Joe Biden criminals and all that sort of things. Joe Biden basically brought up Donald Trump having sex, a person who basically had a wife who had just given birth, okay? And calling Trump out for having sex with a porn star at that time. So it was nonsense. The debate was nonsense. I feel like the moderators did a terrible job. The debate was playful. Joe Biden and Donald Trump went at each other, and they were very much childish, okay? They were childish. The whole setup of the debate, the way it was conducted, and Biden was interrupted too many times. And I do feel as if even the interruption was rude at times, okay? Yes, even if you have a rule as a moderator, the way they were interrupting Joe Biden, in many cases, to me, seems very rude, okay? And I am not sure whether the moderators had or did not have any agenda, but it seems to me like they had an agenda. Whether they were just embarrassed and they were trying to cut Joe Biden, or they cut Joe Biden too many times as a means to prevent him from embarrassing himself, which in this case was an embarrassment to the United States or not. Because people were watching, the entire world was watching. I had a friend that called me from another country laughing and said, look, I just watched the debate, okay? The president of the United States engaging in foolishness. Now, to be honest, yes, Joe Biden is old. Yes, he went at Russia. Yes, he supported Israel. It doesn't matter. Joe Biden is the typical American president. Whether you agree with his position on Ukraine and his position on Russia, or his position on China, his position on TikTok, his position on the situation in the Middle East, his support for or of Israel or not. In terms of substance, Joe Biden was much more and is much more seasoned, much more prepped to be a president. But let's also be honest. Joe Biden is not the one running anything or everything. He does have a cabinet. He is the figurehead. He is the symbolic representation of American power, or of America's power at home and abroad. And it is the same for every American president. Okay? But Joe Biden, in terms of substance, was and is a better candidate than Donald Trump. But in terms of appearance during the debate, in terms of echoing any sentiment that come out of a person's mouth, in terms of just talking for the sake of talking, in terms of bullying and taunting, Donald Trump appeared to be much sound, and he appeared to be the better candidate. And it is very strange, sad, but also scary that for the first time ever, having observed Donald Trump, an American president, Donald Trump appeared to be a better candidate than anybody who he was going against or who he is going against. It is a scary thing. But I do believe, also given, as I've said earlier, given the fact that the two top candidates for the American presidency are two old men whose records or background is tinted, Americans should be very concerned. And those Americans, whether we are talking about Democrats or Republicans, people on the left or people on the right, Donald Trump could become the next president of the United States or could become a president again. And I do believe Donald Trump, if he becomes president, he's going to go on a vengeance. And he echoed sentiment during the debate that Joe Biden went after him and Joe Biden was trying to lock him up. I do believe, and we can also speculate, that Trump could actually come at other people. Okay? He could actually come back into the presidency, the office, with a vengeance. Now, friends, please tell me what you think. I want to know your position. Please join the conversation. But most importantly, thank you very much for becoming a part of the Echoing Voice, the community. And also, thank you for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.